It's tempting to think about the pre-Socratic period as rigidly defined, beginning around 8 or 900 BCE when Homer's writing the Iliad and the Odyssey, and ending at this particular date, 510 BCE, when Cleanthes establishes democracy in Athens, which is the sort of official beginning of the classical period in Greece. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong about this, but that period, particularly in Athens, actually extends for a much longer period of time. So beginning around 590 BCE, at the end of the Bronze Age, you start to see many city-states having political turmoil, usually aristocratic rulers. One or two families that are ruling the city are overthrown and replaced with a wider power-sharing government, a republic or a sort of democracy. There were constitutions established usually, and power was more widely shared. And this happened in Athens over a much longer period of time. Leading up to this point in time, to 510 BCE, we see that Athens has grown very large. It can barely feed itself, and power and wealth are concentrated in a small number of aristocratic families. To try and alleviate that and try to render the city functional again, they elect a tyrant, which was part of the Athenian constitution. It's just a single person with absolute power who would set things straight and then resign. That tyrant was Solon, and he in fact did that. He implemented a number of power-sharing reforms. He got rid of debt. He forbade Athenians to enslave other Athenians for debt. He did a lot of very good things, but he wasn't really interested in ruling, so when he had accomplished his reforms, he retired and wisely left. It only took about 5 years or so for the Athenian aristocracy to overturn most of the things that he had done, even though he made them promise that they would leave it in place for at least a decade. At that point, Athens had returned essentially to just a couple of families who were largely in control of everything again. This led to a number of upheavals. Ultimately, another person was elected, Cleanthes, to institute reforms again. Cleanthes instituted what we think of as the Athenian democracy and established this wider governing body of Athenian citizens based on wealth instead of title and so on. Everyone was allowed to vote for political offices. He instituted the policy of ostracism, where a single person a year could be told they had to leave Athens for a year, and they'd have to. And just like Solon, he finished those reforms and then left. After finishing those reforms, the Athenians waited a little while, then reverted back to form. With the help of the Spartans, a few aristocratic families took over Athens, started instituting the same terrible situation that had sparked the original revolts, and as a result, people actually revolted. The citizens of Athens revolted. They overturned this government. They executed those individuals, and then they brought Cleanthes back in, and he reinstituted Athenian democracy. This same thing was happening in other places around the Mediterranean. For instance, in 509 BCE, we have the overthrow of the Roman kingdom and the beginning of the Roman Republic. Now, Rome was just a small city-state at that time, and they still had kings. The kings were just now elected according to a constitutional process. We see and recall that in 492, Cyrus the Great invaded Greece, and in 480, Xerxes invades Greece. Then in 431, we have the beginning of the Peloponnesian War. And in 438, we have Philip II of Macedon defeating the Athenians and creating the League of Corinth. In 436, after Philip is poisoned, Alexander becomes the king of Macedonia, and he then leads an invasion of the peninsula. That invasion then goes on into Persia, and he eventually dies in 323 in Babylon. And this period of time here is considered to be the classical period in Greece. Now, the figures that we would associate with the classical period are Socrates. Socrates was the first philosopher actually born in Athens. He was born in 470 BCE, and he died in 399 BCE. Hippocrates. We don't know exactly what Hippocrates advocated and did. The enormous corpus that's attributed to him was compiled primarily by the Hippocratic School of Medicine. Not clear he contributed anything to it. We don't know a lot about him. He was born somewhere around 460, 466 BCE. He was a real physician and inspired a school of thinking in medicine. Plato, born in 428, lived till 348 BCE. And Aristotle, born in 384, lived to 322 BCE.